prepared for something new. Everyone is different. So are you. Stay straight. No masquerades. Do things that you'll remember. You can push too far, but stay fair. Stay on track. Give it your all. Get to the bottom of things. Decide what's right. Don't believe in what the others do. Find it out for yourself. Be close to it all. Bring your heart along. Follow your goals. Reach for the stars. Turn the weekend into the loudest party of your life. Are you prepared?
Hello everyone and welcome to the second race weekend of the DTM season 2017. We are here at the Lausitzring, and one thing is for sure, this track is very bumpy and challenging, and in addition the new regulations are certainly going to spice up this race weekend.
Welcome to the Lausitzring. Welcome to DTM races 3 and 4. It's a long-standing venue for Europe's most popular touring car series, and the fans are flocked here in droves. The event is like an early summer festival. Another major racing series visits the so-called motorsport festival Lausitz this weekend, the ADAC GT Masters. Now, Mercedes has dominated races here over the last few years. The overall leader, Lucas Auer, won one of the races in 2016. Gary Paffett posted his last win here in 2013, his third triumph at this circuit, a record shared by Bernd Schneider. The track suits Robert Wickens too. He made it to the podium twice last year. Now Audi's hopes will rest with Jamie Green. He was the winner of the second race in Hockenheim at the season opener. Former champions Mike Rockenfeller and also Matthias Ekström are both struggling for form seemingly at the moment. Now BMW too have yet to get to grips with the new cars and of course the new tyres. The reigning champion is Marco Wittmann, and he's not yet clicked into gear. The same goes for the crowd pleaser and former Formula One star Timo Glock. Maxime Martin from Belgium is currently the best BMW driver in the overall standings. What will he be able to do at the Lausitzring? Well, here comes the grid for the race 1 of this weekend, race 3 in the series overall, and it's a front row that contains 2 Mercedes-Benz cars. It's Lucas Auer and Robert Wickens, P1 and P2. It's the best BMW and best Audi on row 2 of the grid, Maxime Martin and René Rast. Good qualifying from him. Timo Glock and Tom Blomqvist with an all BMW row 3 go from P5 and P6. Then we find Nico Müller and Mike Rockenfeller, P7 and P8. Another all-Mercedes row. It's row 5 of the grid with Gary Paffett and Eduardo Mortara. Current champion Marco Wittmann, a lowly P11 in qualifying from him, and he shares the 6th row with Matthias Ekström. Then we find Maro Engel and Augusto Farfus on the 7th row of the grid. On the 8th, it's Loic Duval and Paul Di Resta. And then it's Bruno Spengler and Jamie Green on the last row of the grid for race 1 here at the Lausitzring. Relatively low temperatures prior to the first race on Saturday, though the flag carriers ignore it skillfully. The conditions, though, seem to have suited the overall leader, Lucas Auer, in qualifying.
You clinched pole once again, and you did a fantastic job. So my question being, the season so far is going really brilliant. It could continue like this, couldn't it?
Yeah, nothing against it, but now we have a long race, so let's see how I will do, but I'm looking forward to it.
I'm sure you are. Last year you won your very first DTM race here at the Lausitzring, so really this track really seems to suit you. Why is that?
Difficult to explain, but it's very bumpy and very slow speed, so maybe it suits my driving style, but let's see in the race. Could be different now.
An all-Mercedes lockout on the front row then with Lucas Auer, P1, and this man, Robert Wickens, who will be going from P2 on the grid. Good news for Mercedes-Benz as we see the cars lined up on the front row of the grid. The best of the BMWs, Maxime Martin. The Belgian will be going from P3 on the grid for race 1. It's a big weekend, incidentally, for the boss of BMW Motorsport, Jens Marquardt, and he's with Verena.
Well, first of all, happy birthday. It's the 5.0. How does that feel?
Not different than the 4.9 did feel. No, thank you very much. Very kind of you. Yeah, and hopefully one of the 6 guys is able to present a little present in an hour's time.
So a gift in order, perhaps, for Mr. Marquardt. René Rast, P4. His first full campaign in the DTM and good qualifying from René. Goes from P4. He is the best of the Audi drivers. There's Dieter Gas, who is the Audi Motorsport boss. Now, perhaps he can explain why the Jamie Green Audi is right at the very back of the grid for race 1 at Lausitzring.
3 Audis in the top 8. That's promising. However, very disappointing. One of the winners of Hockenheimring, Jamie Green, was disqualified because of a problem with the tires. How can that happen?
Yeah, well, he went out early on a used set of tires, just trying to warm everything up. And René, his teammate, had the same strategy, so they came into the pits straight one after the other. And there was a bit of a hustle at the pit stop, so one of René's tires ended up on Jamie's car, which is obviously not allowed by the regulation, and this is why his lap time was cancelled. It's a shame, obviously, but at least in that concern, I have to say he hasn't lost so much or so many positions. Still, he's starting last, but we take it in a positive way, and we hope that we can surprise a little bit with some interesting strategies.
We offer our congratulations to Gary Paffett, who contests his 150th DTM race and will start this race from P9 on the grid. Overall, been very satisfying, of course, for Mercedes-Benz, who've locked out the front row of the grid. Let's hear from the Mercedes boss now, Uli Fritz.
You've got double pole, so that's very promising. Plus, let's also mention that traditionally Mercedes-Benz has always been very dominant here at the Lausitzring. So are you pretty confident about today?
Yeah, I mean, we had a good start into the weekend with the qualifying this morning with 2 cars in the front row. However, nothing is for granted. We have seen that things can change quite quickly in the new DTM. And yeah, we need to make the best out of it. And let's see, in 1 hour we will know more about it.
It's a P18 start then, right at the back of the grid for Jamie Green, as we heard earlier. The Brit relegated to the back of the field because his car was accidentally equipped with one of René Rast's tyres in qualifying. A mistake that was made in that qualifying session, and Jamie Green really has paid the price for that. It means the tension is high at the start of the race as we go into the various garages of the 3 manufacturers to just get some images of how they're feeling ahead of the start of the race. That's the Audi garage and Dieter Gas, and now to BMW. It's birthday celebrating Jens Marquardt, all smiles for the camera. And Uli Fritz from Mercedes-Benz pretty satisfied with his driver's performance in qualifying. They've locked out the front row. So we await the lights to go green. Lucas Auer inevitably will dive to the inside to try and protect that inside line into turn 1 here at the Lausitzring. He does that. Good start from Nico Müller in car number 51. The Audi right alongside the all-yellow BMW of Timo Glock now. Inside of them, though, is René Rast, who's P4, Maxime Martin P3, Auer and Wickens P1 and P2. We're on board with Timo Glock now. And there you can see the Nico Müller car. Great shot from the splitter cam that we're able to bring you. Maro Engel then battling with Matthias Ekström. That battle going on for P12. As the cars briefly back onto the oval. It's a tri-oval here at the Lausitzring with an inner part of the circuit as we get replays of the start then, and perfect start from Lucas Auer. Good starts from Timo Glock and Nico Müller as well, and Maxime Martin then making sure that P3 is his, very nearly touching the back of the Robert Wickens car. We go on board. Tom Blomqvist, the BMW right ahead of us. There is the all-yellow Timo Glock car, and really is sharp into this turn number 1. All the cars through safely then. DRS is enabled. It's our Wickens Martin, and then it is René Rast. Good battle going on between Marco Wittmann and Gary Paffett right now, as you can see from our high camera, and Marco Wittmann gets ahead of the Gary Paffett car. So that is P10 for Marco Wittmann. Gary Paffett, P11, celebrating his 150th race in the DTM, as we mentioned earlier in the programme. And Maxime Martin and Robert Wickens side by side here with Maxime Martin going through to take up P2. Loic Duval then under investigation for a potential jump start. As soon as we get any news on that, you will be the first to know about it. So here once again is the Maxime Martin overtake on Robert Wickens. Robert dives to the inside, but the extra momentum that Maxime Martin has into turn number 1 means that he gets that job done and overtakes and puts that car P2. Well done to Timo Glock. Lucas Au then with a 1.3 second margin over Maxime Martin. Loic Duval does get a 5-second pit stop penalty, and here comes Timo Glock. King of the late breakers there, a bit of a lock-up that goes through on the inside of René Rast. What a great overtake from Timo Glock then, who puts that BMW ahead of the Audi of René Rast. Let's take a look at that overtake once again in replay, because it was a good one. Came from a way back. René Rast is about to turn in and realises he can't because the gap he was going to turn into is full of the all-yellow BMW of Timo Glock. Interesting strategy here, which was alluded to by Dieter Gas earlier. Jamie Green in very early for his mandatory pit stop, and also too Matthias Ekstrom. So the two Audis then, Green and Ekstrom, and also Mike Rockenfeller. So 3 Audis choosing to come in very early stages of the race for their mandatory pit stops. Also in is Augusto Farfus. Mike Rockenfeller on his way down the pit lane now to the very left of your screen, and it's not a quick stop for Augusto Farfus then. Only 2 engineers allowed to work on either side of the car now in the new pit stop regulations for 2017. And there we can see Green and Ekstrom, who've both been in for their pit stop. You can see, in fact, Rockenfeller, Farfus, Green, Ekstrom, Spengler are the cars that have all been in because of the green indicator light on the graphics on the left-hand side of your screen. So Jamie Green has passed Matthias Ekstrom for P16, and that is exactly how he did it into turn 1. Massive crowd here at the Lausitzring to enjoy this motorsport festival. We'll see that in a couple of replays. And this is Mike Rockenfeller. And Jamie Green now chasing down Augusto Farfus. Here comes Marco Wittmann into the pits. He will return with cold tyres. Another one of the new pit stop regulations is the tyres cannot be pre-warmed. It's not a quick stop for Marco Wittmann at all. Clear, clear, clear. Out on cold tyres, and he will drop a position because Mike Rockenfeller will move past. On board, you can see just how easy it is once the tyres are up to temperature and you've got full grip, and Mike Rockenfeller able to take advantage of the fact that Marco Wittmann returning out onto the track on cold tyres. They return to the oval section of the circuit once again before diving that left-hand turn. Oh, and again, Marco Wittmann exploring just what he's got in terms of grip, which isn't very much in the early stages of having returned from that pit stop. Matthias Ekstrom is chasing down the Augusto Farfus BMW ahead. Jamie Green lines up Marco Wittmann as well. So we're on board with Jamie Green now, and he gets the job done. He's passed Marco Wittmann, and what he's done, he's backed Wittmann and Farfus into the clutches, potentially, of Matthias Ekstrom as well. This is a fantastic onboard shot, looking back at the Marco Wittmann BMW. Then it's the Augusto Farfus car and Matthias Ekstrom chasing them both really, really hard here. Fantastic battle going on, and great to watch. The unforgiving concrete wall to the right-hand side of the cars as they return onto the oval, make their way down the start-finish straight here. And Augusto Farfus then tries to protect the inside line. Marco Wittmann's on the outside. Matthias Ekstrom is the meat in the sandwich here, and he goes through both of them. Extraordinary driving from Matthias Ekstrom. Augusto Farfus was protecting the inside line, Marco Wittmann the outside, and Matthias Ekstrom just said to heck with it, I'll come through the middle then. And he did that. That has got to be the overtake of the race thus far from Matthias Ekstrom. Takes out 2 drivers in that one overtake move. Here he is then. Really, really brave. Wittmann on the very left of the screen, and just a little touch there between Matthias Ekstrom and Augusto Farfus, but that was a phenomenal overtake. This is René Rast then on Timo Glock, and this will be for P4. Timo Glock now has the all-black René Rast Audi ahead of him. So it's Auer, Martin Wickens, then it's Rast, Glock, Muller, Mortara, Paffett, and in comes Paul di Resta, and he should return ahead of Tom Blomqvist, Mike Rockenfeller, and Jamie Green if all goes well with the pit stop, which it appears to. So Paul di Resta back on his way out, but do bear in mind relative to the other cars on the track, but Paul di Resta will have cold tyres, so that means that he becomes prey to those cars whose tyres are warm. So Tom Blomqvist to the outside of Paul di Resta, and there's touch between the two of them. It looked like Paul di Resta got some understeer there on the cold tyres and clunked into the side of Tom Blomqvist, and Tom's race now completely compromised. Let's see it again. See the back end of the di Resta car sliding there as Blomqvist goes for the overtake, and then the lock-up as the car is understeering, and that sends, well, the inevitable contact sends Tom Blomqvist spinning around. Here we can see it from another angle. Oh yes, and the front locks up there, as you can see. That was the smoke that we saw, and at that point the front of Paul di Resta's car then is not turning in, it's moving straight, and that's why the contact came on the Tom Blomqvist car, and sends the Tom Blomqvist BMW into a certainly unwanted spin around, and has really compromised the British Stars race. So no tyre warmers means if you return from the pits, you're on cold tyres. Here's Mike Rockenfeller then on Gary Paffett. This is for P10. He's the best of the drivers, Mike Rockenfeller, who've been in the pits at this point. Just keep your eyes on Jamie Green, who's hounding Gary Paffett now as well. We're on board with Gary Paffett then. 150th DTM race here at the Lausitzring, and into the pits comes Robert Wickens. Good stop from the team for Robert Wickens, 7.8 seconds as he returns back out onto the track with no traffic in front, no traffic behind. So good strategy call perhaps from the Mercedes-Benz crew in bringing Robert Wickens in. And Jamie Green now on Gary Paffett. Kind of expected that, didn't we? Now, Jamie Green, of course, another one of those Audi drivers with that very early pit stop strategy. And when you consider that he started right at the very back of the grid, he's now into P11. Paul di Resta gets a drive-through penalty, and that for the Tom Blomqvist incident that we saw just a few moments ago on screen. Maxime Martin then, P3, into the pits. Where will he come out relative to Robert Wickens? We keep our eye on the squad there, who do a very, very good pit stop. 7.3 seconds. Here comes Robert Wickens then, down the start-finish straight now. Maxime Martin is out. Bearing in mind, though, that Maxime Martin will be on cold tyres. So Robert Wickens will put the hammer down now and try and close that gap between himself and the BMW driver. He should have the slight advantage here because Robert Wickens' tyres are warmed up. Maxime Martin's are not. In comes Lucas Auer now. So looking for a good stop from the team here. Just two engineers per side of the car. Go. 7.2 seconds is pretty impressive as Lucas Auer makes his way back out onto the track. Comfortably ahead of Maxime Martin. Whoa, you can see the back end of the car stepping out there. The only traffic ahead of him is Loic Duval. And we focus on that turn one. Well, Robert Wickens has got past Maxime Martin. So Wickens then finds himself ahead of Maxime Martin. He's made that overtake whilst we were watching the pit stop for Lucas Auer. And here's where the overtake came then from Robert Wickens, right on the back of the Maxime Martin BMW to the inside. And he gets the job done and goes through to make that overtake. So Robert Wickens does get past the BMW driver, Maxime Martin. In comes Timo Glock. Where's he going to come out relative to Gary Paffett? Bear in mind, Timo Glock, another one of those drivers that's going to be on cold tyres following the pit stop then. Oh, and he's into the gravel. Well, he manages to keep the momentum on and keep it going. But Timo Glock was in the gravel. And seemingly the car just would not turn into the corner at all.
I don't know what's wrong with the front. I have no front end.
And look, he's being passed by just about everyone. Gary Paffett, Matthias Ekström, Jamie Green, Augusto Farfus. Let's see it then. So Timo Glock is released from his pit box. Off he goes. Left. Oh, the back end of the car steps out then as he puts the power on. Now he needs to turn right. And he's turning, look, but the car is just going straight on. But thankfully he had the presence of mind to keep his foot in to drag himself out of that gravel, but he was easy prey to Mike Rockenfeller, Gary Paffett, Matthias Ekström and Jamie Green as well. Now in comes René Rast. This is a very late pit stop by René Rast. Where will he be relative to Maxime Martin, I would suggest? Well, the map is up on the right hand side of your screen. You can see Auer has already gone through turn number one. Here comes Robert Wickens. And there is the Maxime Martin BMW. Now, Martin should be able to get past the Audi relatively easily because the Audi is out on cold tyres. Maxime Martin with warmed up tyres, and sure enough, Maxime Martin goes through without too much problem at all. So René Rast defenceless really against that overtake. This is Eduardo Mortara in the pits. Now, going to look to see where he will come out relative to Mike Rockenfeller. So the Edo Mortara car on its way out of the pit lane now, and there is Mike Rockenfeller in the yellow-green Audi. Let's go on board with Mike Rockenfeller, who shouldn't have a problem getting past Eduardo Mortara, though, who does stick his elbows out and tries to make the Mercedes as wide as possible and make it difficult for Mike Rockenfeller to get past, but eventually he does so, and I suspect Gary Paffett will do the same, and Matthias Ekstrom as well. And Nico Müller also in that mix. So we keep an eye on the Audi versus Mercedes-Benz battle here as Nico Müller, currently running in P9, is hunting down that Mercedes. Where will the overtake come from Nico Müller? Going into turn 5 perhaps if he dives to the inside? No, not close enough to be able to do it. Will it come on the infield section, or will Nico Müller bide his time and await the home straight, which is exactly what he does? And into turn 1, Nico Müller goes through on Eduardo Mortara and finds himself now in P8. Oh no, he doesn't. He's back into the pit lane. So a problem for the Nico Müller car potentially. This is the overtake then. Just looking to see if there was a touch between Eduardo Mortara and Nico Müller. I don't think there was. Seemed a very clean overtake, and Nico Müller went through fair and square, but his car coming back down the pit lane again. What's happened to Nico Müller?
There was a technical problem on the car. Something, I think it's related to the brake system. Or they're not disconnecting anymore, if you want to call it like that. No idea where it comes from, but yeah, it made no sense to continue if it feels like you have to have the handbrake on all the time. So yeah.
Great shame for Nico Müller, finished P5 in race 2 at Hockenheim. This is Maxime Martin and René Rast then fighting over the final podium place, and René Rast goes through at turn 1 and puts himself ahead of the BMW of Maxime Martin. So it's Al Wickens, Rast, Martin with Mike Rockenfeller, Gary Paffett, Matthias Ekstrom, Edo Mortara, Mauro Engel and Jamie Green rounding out the top 10. Here is that overtake once again in replay then. Quite an easy one there, seemingly through turn 1. And that will deny Maxime Martin then a place on the podium.
P4, it's okay, it's good. I was really hoping for a podium. But Audi and Mercedes are just too quick for us in the race. So it's for sure for BMW not a great result, but it's some points, I take them. And we have to focus on tomorrow now.
Well, bank the points. This is Eduardo Mortara on Matthias Ekstrom, and this will be for P7 in the race. And again, it's that turn 1 where Dieter Gas looks on. Disappointed that Matthias Ekstrom has lost out on a place there, but delight in the Mercedes garage. And this is how Eduardo Mortara did it. Very close between the two of them, but firm but fair fight between Eduardo Mortara and Matthias Ekstrom. Lucas Au will take win number 2.
Another one! Oh, thank you. Great job. Great job.
Well, he's pretty happy with win 2 of the season.
Lucas, you're insane. Incredible ride. Incredible ride. Pick up rubber. Save fuel.
Well, lots of instructions for him having taken the win.
Maximum rubber. Congrats, man.
And let's hear from
Take out the USB stick and park for me.
Uli Fritz now.
What a fantastic race. You started in double pole and you ended with double victory, so I guess you're very, very happy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's great to see the performance of both of the guys today, but also, you know, Gary and Edo did a good job, and I think finishing with 4 cars in top 7 is just a great result for us here in Lausitzring.
Well, here is the confirmed result then. Our taking the win from Robert Wickens, René Rast, Maxime Martin, then it was Rocky, Gary Paffett, Eduardo Mortara, Matthias Ekstrom, Mauro Engel and Jamie Green occupying the top 10 positions, followed by Glock, Farfus, Wittmann, Spengler, Loic Duval, Paul de Resta, Tom Blomqvist, and of course we lost Nico Muller. René Rast, though, gets P3.
You were just really pushing so hard, and then you managed to overtake and get your first podium in the DTM career. And you've got to be just absolutely raving.
Yeah, obviously very happy. Of that day I dreamed quite long, to be honest. It was a good race for us. After the stop, I was really fighting, as you said. I was attacking quite hard, and Maxime just raced very fair and let me the space, and I could pass him for the podium, which was a great feeling.
Well, following the Austrian national anthem, he puts the winner's cap on. And Lucas Auer presented with his trophy from His Royal Highness Prince Leopold of Bavaria. Robert Wickens, of course, P2, and René Rast, who we've just heard from, takes P3. Let's hear from second place now, Robert Wickens.
Well, congratulations, starting from P2 and ending in second place. You've got to be happy about that.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's nice to get my season started. Hockenheim didn't go according to plan, but I felt like we were doing everything right, just some wrong place at the wrong time or bad luck. So, yeah, to get a podium for the guys, they deserve it. Yeah, wasn't straightforward. I had to do a bit of overtaking, but the team did a good strategy, good pit stop, and yeah, really happy.
Well, in the driver's points, as you can see, Mike Rockenfeller is P3, Gary Paffett is P2, but on 68 points with quite a margin is the race winner from race 1, Lucas Auer. Let's hear from him.
Congratulations to a very wet and happy Lucas Auer from pole to victory. You really did a brilliant job.
Yeah, big thanks to the team. Great job to Robert, and I think it was perfect race for us, for me, and enjoy the moment.
Well, he does enjoy the moment up there on the podium, the champagne shower featuring Lucas Auer. The Lausitzring certainly seems to suit the Austrian and the Mercedes-Benz cars. Great racing, not the only thing the fans enjoy in the 2017 DTM season, they also can get closer. Pit View allows the fans to see the mechanics work in the pit boxes every race weekend, and a driver sometimes will explain what's going on. Another novelty is the Fan Village, featuring interviews with experts, relaxation and good food. The fans in the stands treated to a lot of action too. It's a unique overall experience for all motorsport fans. Here comes the grid then for race 2 at the Lausitzring. Pole position, Robert Wickens. Alongside him is Tom Blomqvist for BMW. Jamie Green, P3. Gary Paffett, P4, completing an all-British row 2 on the grid. Then we find Maxime Martin and René Rast, P5 and P6. To the next row where we find Nico Muller, who'll be hoping for better luck today, and Matthias Ekström. They go from P7 and P8. Augusto Farfus and Marco Wittmann round out the first 5 rows of the grid before we find Mike Rockenfeller and Bruno Spengler going from P11 and P12. Then it's Timo Glock and Loic Duval, P13 and P14. And almost unbelievably given his pace yesterday, Lucas Auer finds himself P15 with Paul de Resta alongside him. And then rounding out the final row of the grid, it's 2 Mercedes cars, Maro Engel and Eduardo Mortara. A hive of bustle and activity before race 2 on the starting grid. Now, a touring car legend has joined us on site, the 3-time DTM champion Klaus Ludwig, the so-called Rainmaster.
Now, obviously, since you've left the DTM, a lot has changed, and especially in 2017. So what do you think of the new season?
It will be a very interesting season, but a lot has changed, but in the end of the day it comes to the racing, and the racing stays the same. We're gonna have hard fights today, I'm for sure, and we're gonna have a lot of strategy.
Well, strategy is what's going to be needed for Saturday's winner, who is far down the field today. Lucas Auer starts only from P15, really did have problems in qualifying today. Let's find out exactly what went wrong.
And now I'm here with Lucas Auer, the man who won yesterday's race. But however, today you're only starting in P15. So what were you struggling with?
I made a mistake, a shitty mistake, which was only caused by me, not by the team. So now I have to try to get the best out of it. But I think with good strategy and quite aggressive driving in the first couple of laps, I will aim for the front.
Another one that will need good strategy is Mike Rockenfeller. Finished race 1, P5, is qualifying 1:16.651. Was only good enough for P11 for Mike Rockenfeller then in the yellow-green Audi here at the Lausitzring. Still the overtake of the weekend so far has got to be from this man, Matthias Ekström. His dive through the middle of those two cars in race one was a joy to behold. And Matthias Ekstrom finished P8 and starts from P8 today. Next up, we find the British driver Jamie Green. A very, very good performance from Jamie Green when you consider he started right at the very back of the grid. He finished in the points P10 and today he qualifies P3. He will be very much a man to watch. Let's hear from the boss of Audi Motorsport with Verena now.
Dieter Gass, at the Hockenheimring, Jamie Green won the Sunday race. Today is Sunday again. He's starting from P3. So do you think Jamie is going to manage to make you smile at the end of the race again?
Well, I hope so, obviously. He has been very strong here in the past years already. P3 is a very good position to start from. The race is reasonably long. We know we're quite okay in terms of tire management, so there is a possibility. But we shouldn't forget there's two strong opponents in front of him, which we need to get past first. So we're going to give it a go, but it's going to be difficult.
Having had a torrid race yesterday in the face of adversity, Tom Blomqvist, my goodness me, how well he's performed in qualifying. A 1:16.323 gives him P2 on the grid. Tom Blomqvist, best of the BMWs, and let's hear from Jens Marquardt.
So behind us is Blomqvist in P2, and we saw another strong performance in the qualifying from Martin, who's starting in P5. So what would you say are the chances for BMW for a podium or even a victory?
Well, I'm not making any proposals here in that respect, but I think we're in a good position to start with, and another race here where we can hopefully do better than yesterday. And I think we've learned a few things also about the tire management, and I think also with the lap that Tom did yesterday with myself, maybe that was a bit of a motivation for him. So yeah, I'm keeping my fingers crossed for the guys. Good start and then a good first corner, and then we'll see.
This man finished P2 yesterday. He's put the car on pole position today.
I'm here with the man of the weekend, Robert Wickens. Yesterday, second place, today starting in pole. I guess if you're going to win this race today, it was just a perfect weekend.
Yeah, I mean, let's get the race done and then I can say I'm man of the weekend. But yeah, the team's done a great job all weekend. It's going well. So hopefully we get a good start and just have a nice, boring, clean race.
Nice, boring, clean race. Dieter Gass from Audi then, as the tension begins to build ahead of the race. A very satisfied Uli Fritz then, his man on pole position, and also into the BMW garages. And Jens Marquardt looks on then as the start of race number 2 is about to get underway. One thing is guaranteed, the action will come thick and fast as the lights go green. And race 2 is underway. Mike Rockefeller diving to the inside and right alongside and ahead now of Augusto Farfus. Tom Blomqvist on the outside of Robert Wickens going into turn number 1. Look at that gaggle of cars behind. Timo Glock is on the grass, but no consequences. He manages to go through perfectly okay. So as the cars settle down then, the first sequence of turns here at the Lausitzring, and they turn back onto the part of the original tri-oval circuit here where they get oh so close to that wall. Maxime Martin was under pressure there. So too Marco Wittmann a little further back as we get a replay of the start here, and that move by Mike Rockefeller onto the inside of Augusto Farfus we could see there, and you can see it again now. Let's take a look at the acceleration chart from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour. Edo Mortara was the quickest with Nico Müller at 2.8 seconds being second fastest. Let's go on board with Lucas Auer, who was fighting right at the very start then, trying to make up places. You can see where Timo Glock kicked up the dust from being on the grass. There's Bruno Spengler on the left-hand side of Lucas Auer, and now Marco Wittmann, and up to the inside of Timo Glock, very nearly touching Augusto Farfus. Some very early stops here now for Matthias Ekstrom and Mike Rockefeller. This is on lap 2. So strategy from Audi then to bring both Matthias Ekstrom and Mike Rockefeller in very early. There the cars dive in. Matthias Ekstrom then. Just 2 engineers working per side of the car now for these tyre changes. Phoenix team for Mike Rockefeller, Abt team for Matthias Ekstrom, and the jacks are released. Matthias Ekstrom and Mike Rockefeller absolutely side by side. They're very nearly touch as they make their way out of the pit lane, but Mike Rockefeller stays ahead of Matthias Ekstrom as they make their way back out onto the track. Jamie Green is all over the back of Tom Blomqvist now as they're heading down in towards turn number 1. Jamie Green with the inside line, Tom Blomqvist on the outside, and Jamie Green goes through. Incidentally, Mike Rockefeller under investigation potentially for an unsafe release from his pit box as we look back at the Tom Blomqvist car relegated to P3 now as Jamie Green has gone through to take up P2. Gary Paffett now all over the back end of the Blomqvist car as they make their way back onto a short section of the tri-oval. Here's Gary Paffett then, and on the inside of Tom Blomqvist, Gary Paffett will go through now. So in the space of but a few metres, Tom Blomqvist losing out on a couple of places. On board with Gary Paffett then, who is now running in P4. And he too will try and chase down the Audi of Jamie Green. And this was Jamie Green's overtake on Tom Blomqvist to the inside. Blomqvist carrying a lot of speed, but Jamie Green always going to have the inside line, and Gary Paffett was able to really close under braking as well. And here we can see how Jamie Green made that overtake work. And this was Gary Paffett then as they came back in to the infield section of the circuit and got himself past the BMW of Tom Blomqvist. This though is Marco Wittmann on Timo Glock, and it is the fight for P10 with Marco Wittmann getting ahead of the all-yellow BMW of Timo Glock that we're on board with right now. Marco Wittmann now ahead. Marco Wittmann running in P10. In comes Timo Glock then, and the RMG team hard at work to change the tyres on the Timo Glock car. The weather conditions here at the Lausitzring absolutely glorious.
All new tyres.
Bearing in mind what Timo Glock did yesterday in terms of running through the gravel, Mike Rockenfeller goes through. Timo Glock will be very cautious going through the first set of turns, but doesn't have the problems that he had yesterday. The two Audis bouncing side by side there, but Matthias Ekström gets past Mike Rockenfeller. Gets up a little bit of dirt on the exit, so Matthias Ekström ahead now of Mike Rockenfeller as in comes Lucas Auer from P14. And a very, very quick stop indeed from the HWA team for Lucas Auer. There's Mike Rockenfeller. Matthias Ekström has already gone through. Lucas Auer will be out just ahead of Mike Rockenfeller, but bear in mind, Lucas Auer's going to be on cold tyres here, so Mike Rockenfeller should be able to go past him, and indeed he does. Lucas Auer somewhat defenceless to be able to defend against that overtake until his tyres are warmed up, which it will take virtually an entire lap before the tyres are up to temperature. You can see him weaving from side to side there to try and generate some temperature into the tyres. This is Gary Paffett then. Not such a quick stop for Gary Paffett, unfortunately. An 8.3 second stop for Gary Paffett, the HWA team working on his car. Here comes Matthias Ekström into turn number one. Paffett out ahead of Matthias Ekström. But again, Gary Paffett is the one that will be on cold tyres here, whereas Ekström, with his very early stop, you'll recall, with Mike Rockenfeller, he'll be on warm tyres. Now, how wide can Gary Paffett make that Mercedes-Benz as we watch Maxime Martin in for his stop now? The RBM team responsible for the Maxime Martin car. Reasonable stop for Maxime Martin, and he comes out now behind Gary Paffett. And you can see Mike Rockenfeller through turns 3 now. Mike Rockenfeller, bearing in mind that he started from P11, gets past Maxime Martin, or does he? This is going to be close onto the oval section of the circuit. Whoa! Almost a glancing blow from Mike Rockenfeller on the concrete wall there, but gets past Maxime Martin, so that elevates Mike Rockenfeller. Graphics on the left-hand side of your screen indicate those cars that have been in for their mandatory pit stop. Ekström, Paffett, Rockenfeller, Martin, Farfus, Auer, Spengler and Glock. And this, a 5-second pit stop penalty for Tom Blomqvist, who was adjudged to have jumped the start. Let's take a slow-mo look at that. Lights go. Yeah, Blomqvist, want to be a race steward.
Last sector, green is a slightly bit better.
Robert Wickens into the pits then, and he needs to be out ahead of Matthias Ekström. By my calculations, 8-second stop then.
Track should be clear, mate. Track
from
clear.
the HWA team for Robert Wickens. Bearing in mind he'll be on cold tyres and does get out comfortably ahead of Matthias Ekström. But bear in mind, both Matthias Ekström and Gary Paffett's tyres will be up to temperature, whereas Robert Wickens has got a whole lap to do really on cold tyres before his tyres are brought back up to the temperature that is needed. In now is Jamie Green. He needs to return ahead of Robert Wickens. But of course, Robert Wickens will be on warm tyres. Not a very quick stop there from the Rosberg team for Jamie Green. So the map on the right-hand side of the screen, you can see where Robert Wickens is, where Jamie Green is. Green is going to be out ahead of Robert Wickens, but Robert is going to have his tyres now up to temperature, whereas Jamie Green isn't. And therefore, Jamie Green should and could be easy prey to Robert Wickens. Sure enough, Robert Wickens just drives around the outside of the almost defenceless Jamie Green as they're back out onto an oval part of the Lausitzring circuit, of course originally built as a tri-oval with this infield section that the drivers are onto now, as we watch Robert Wickens then make his way through that infield section, and Jamie Green then still warming his tyres. This is lap 22 and Rennie Rast is into the pits for his pit stop. So Rennie Rast then celebrating a P3 position yesterday. The Audi Rosberg team not particularly quick with Rennie Rast as he makes his way out of the pit lane now. And Mike Rockenfeller will go through untroubled. And Rennie Rast will be out with Maxime Martin, but Martin easily able to get past the returning Rennie Rast. Everyone with the exception of Muller, Wittmann, De Resta, Mortara and Engel have been in for their pit stops. Their mandatory pit stops can be taken any time during the course of the race, with the exception of the last lap and the first lap. Marco Wittmann is next in then, and Paul De Resta also. Now Wittmann should return ahead of Rennie Rast, but again will be powerless. So sure enough, Marco Wittmann then out well ahead of Rennie Rast, but Rennie Rast with superior grip. So his tyres will be up to temperature now. So we watch Paul De Resta and Augusto Farfus. Here comes Maxime Martin, and there you can see Marco Wittmann trying to weave and put some temperature into those tyres, but certainly doesn't hamper Rennie Rast's efforts in terms of getting past. And Lucas Auer has the Marco Wittmann car very much in the target sights as well now. Here comes Lucas Auer then, winner of course in the race yesterday, pounding the Marco Wittmann car. Where will he have a go? Well, just about anywhere on the track he should be able to, because he should have superior grip. The Wittmann car just drifts out a little bit wide. That allows Lucas Auer to be alongside, but Marco Wittmann is able to deny him. So Auer goes there but carries too much speed, and Wittmann is able to come back underneath him. Now, where this is dangerous for Lucas Auer is that Augusto Farfus is in this fight as well. And there you can see just how close Lucas Auer is with Augusto Farfus. Whoa, there's some terrific weaving going on from Marco Wittmann. Now, an argument as to that's too much weaving in defence as Lucas Auer dives to the inside. Marco Wittmann will say he was trying to generate temperature into his tyres, I'm sure, but whoa, he very nearly loses it then and could lose 2 positions here. But Augusto Farfus is just denied by Marco Wittmann. Lucas Auer did go through. As I mentioned, that weaving from side to side, well, sure enough, under investigation. More than one change of direction for Marco Wittmann. As I say, his defence will be, well, I was merely trying to warm the tyres. Well, you were hampering Lucas Auer and Augusto Farfus' efforts in terms of trying to overtake as well. Robert Wickens and Jamie Green side by side into turn 1. This for the lead of the race. Jamie Green goes through and takes up the lead of the race. So on lap 31, Jamie Green leads the race. And there from the Jamie Green car we can see Robert Wickens, who is now relegated to P2. Robert did try and defend the inside line, but Jamie Green was coming through like a train. Through turn number 1. Here it is. There you can see where Robert Wickens tried to defend. It was firm but fair fighting between the two of them, and in the end Jamie Green prevails and takes up the lead of race 2 here at the Lausitzring. And now here comes Matthias Ekström. Robert Wickens to the inside. Matthias Ekström says, fair enough, I'll go around the outside then. Another brilliant overtake from Matthias Ekström. We've seen some great driving from him across the course of this weekend. The pit wall are happy, and of course the strategy to bring him and Rocky in early for tyre changes seems to have worked better for Matthias than it has for Mike Rockenfeller.
It was just the car setup today was not suiting me, and we were struggling on pace and qualifying. We had a really extreme strategy. I think I did a really good first lap with my start and everything. And then I wasn't quick enough, and I tried to hang on and, you know, stay alive and score the points.
Well, the battle's hotting up for P7 because René Rast is right on the tail of Maxime Martin as they make their way down to turn 1 and come into our shot here. Maxime Martin then, as René Rast dives to the inside in the Audi, and the BMW then is relegated to P8 as René Rast goes past to take up P7. So the best BMW driver is Maxime Martin, who is down there now in P8. So it hasn't been, as we look at the overtake of René Rast on Maxime Martin, it hasn't been a great race for BMW at all. Let's hear from their boss now, Jens Marquardt.
It was a difficult race for BMW, I have to say. I mean, having 2 cars in the top 10 and only in 8th and 9th was definitely not what we were looking for. We had pretty good starting position with qualifying, and yeah, unlucky with Tom, who had a bit of a jump start and had his 5-second penalty, which got him completely out of the race more or less. And yeah, I have to say from then onwards it was a struggle for us. Maxime tried as good as he could. Behind him, I would say Marco was probably the only guy who had decent pace on both sets of tires. Strategy-wise, we have to look into whether we could have done things better, because obviously today some very opposite strategies have been successful. And overall, yeah, you could see that there was no degradation actually on the tire. So it was really for us a bit of a struggle to keep the tire properly in the window, and this in traffic we didn't manage well today. And when we stopped, we came always out in traffic, and that was difficult for us. So we need to look into that and do things better for Budapest.
It was P10 yesterday, it's P1 today for Jamie Green.
Yes, well done, Jamie. Think about a pickup.
He had created a considerable gap and wins ahead of Matthias Ekström and Robert Wickens. Delight down there on the Rosberg pit wall as Jamie Green is victorious over Matthias Ekström, Robert Wickens. Then it was Gary Paffett, Mike Rockefeller, Nico Müller, René Rast, Maxime Martin, Marco Wittmann and Lucas Au rounding out the top 10. Okay, let's hear from Robert Wickens now. P3 is on the podium.
Robert, you started from pole position, you ended up on the podium, but however, 3rd place. Are you still pretty happy?
I'm satisfied. I mean, obviously a little disappointed. The first stint of the race went amazing, but yeah, we were just struggling a bit with the rear tires, just overheating them a little bit, and clearly the Audi maybe had a better long pace setup on the car, because I mean, Eki I think pitted on like lap 1 or something and made it to 2nd, so there's no way I could have done that.
Well, a very honest Robert Wickens as Jamie Green receives his trophy for winning the race, and actually it's his 14th DTM triumph. Holds the trophy aloft. Well done, Jamie Green. Taking P2 then, of course, Matthias Ekström, and he is with Verena now.
Wet and happy. Eki, you did a fantastic job fighting away from P8 all the way to 2nd place, so congratulations. How does it feel?
Yeah, there was a lot of gravel in the ice towards the end, because driving behind is pretty challenging, but it was a very different race. Pit on the first lap and do the whole race with 1 set of tires. I did everything I could to nurse them and take care of them, and I could feel towards the end I had a little, call it bubble, when I had to push to compensate for the other guy's new tires, but then everything settled back in and I could attack Robert towards the end. So for me it was kind of challenging, but I mean, Jamie, he deserved the win. He was faster and we didn't have anything for him with the strategy we run, but still I'm happy with P2.
Lucas Au remains at the top of the points chart on 69 points, but on 53 points now. Same number as his race number. It's Jamie Green who is the race winner. Let's hear from him.
Jamie, you really did an absolutely brilliant job. I know you're very eager to bite into your banana. As always, Jamie and the banana. Right, but from P3 to P1, you must be absolutely thrilled with this victory. I mean, it's fantastic.
Yeah, to be honest, I couldn't have planned the race any better. I had to be patient, but you know, playing the long game, the Audi works really well on the, was really easy on the tires, and that's what I could use to my advantage today. So I'm really happy with the way I executed that plan.
Yep, and you did a fantastic job at Hockenheimring on Sunday. Today again it's Sunday. Maybe Sunday's your lucky day.
Yeah, although I think we need some better Saturdays as well, to be honest. But it's nice to get another win, and I'm really happy. Team Rosberg and Audi Sport, gave me a great car, and it's fantastic to repay them with a result.
And speaking of repaying them with a result, what about Budapest in 4 weeks? What do you expect?
I don't know. I mean, I think it's always hard to predict. It looks really close, as you saw in the quali today. I mean, I was 27 thousandths off pole and I was third, so it's mega close. For that reason, you just can't predict it.
Gonna be exciting, that's for sure. Thank you very much, Jamie Green. And now here are the highlights of the day. Enjoy, and we'll see you in Budapest. Thank you and bye-bye.